Hey, this is Mira Beck, the founder of Overnight Success Publishing and host of Overnight Success TV with another awesome episode of our Overnight Success TV. Today I have a very, very special guest, my longtime friend, Bill Gough. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mira.
And thank you for taking the time. I mean, I know you've been in town, but super busy with your masterminds and your coaching that you do. And I'm going to interview Bill today about several things besides his story. We're also going to touch on referral marketing. So if you are in a business that has customers and you can use referrals in your business, which I think it's probably 99% of businesses, maybe just about everybody, right? About 100%. Stay tuned because it's going to be awesome. Bill is the master when it comes to referrals. But Bill, let's start in the beginning, man. Let's talk about your story. I'm always super interested in where people came from, because there's always two types of people. Mm-hmm. Some had parents that were entrepreneurs and they kind of groomed them to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
And there's a lot of us, like a first generation entrepreneurs whose parents were just normal factory workers or what have you. So just share with everyone, where did you come from?
Okay, well, first of all, before I start that, I want to thank you for inviting me here. And you are certainly, we were talking a little bit about this before we started shooting, about overnight success. Yeah, we've had overnight success, both of us, but about decades of put a lot of hard work into it. Yeah. And congratulations, this place that you have here is fabulous, man. So I know you've been talking about it, so congratulations on that. So my background story business-wise is I'm just I'm from a little town in North Alabama, right there near the Tennessee border, just a regular guy. And raised by great parents, had a great family background. My dad was like a mom. He had a small business. My mom was a school teacher, and it was just get an education, get you a job, and go to work. Now, the first job that I pretty much had was working for a company called Allstate Insurance, which is a pretty big company, here in the United States, one of the biggest brands in the United States. And I was right out of college, didn't know what I was doing, but I had I was hired by a lady that is very instrumental in my story. Mm-hmm. I mean, she went on to become an extremely successful leader with the Allstate Insurance Company. She rose all the way to the position of field vice president, which there's only 14 of those. Oh, wow. Around the country. So it's like being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So she taught me a lot and got me off to a great start, which was very, very important for me. Mm-hmm. Taught me about setting goals, writing, making plans, and just simply taking actions on those. And it was that simple on getting everything in writing. So we went off to a great start. I had a lot of motivation because I was married, and my wife was in college at the time, so with a new baby at home, and so I had to earn. Yeah. So, but anyway, after a couple of years of having her and getting some good success, I went through a drought that I didn't have much success at all, and that's because I wasn't following some success principles, and like setting goals and creating plans and just taking actions on those. Yeah. But after a few years, I started hanging around some of after a few years of that nonsense and managing to keep my job, I started associating with a better quality agent, an insurance agent. Just watch what they do. So I'm just going to watch what these guys do and see if I can do some of what they do, and we'll see what happens. And I started winning. I started doing pretty well with it. And
I need to pause you for a
second, no problem.
Because you're saying like some awesome things. So first of all, I would say maybe you were one of the lucky ones that already had a parent or some role model.
I was.
But I really believe that everything happens for a reason. So really, luck probably had very little to do with it. So I don't know if this could be called, stumbling across a great mentor, because a lot of people never even have the opportunity and the ability to have that person over them. Mm-hmm. So that point in this scenario would be, look for someone to mentor you, someone that's better than you, someone that's been there, done that. And if they have the mentor leadership attitude and ability to actually lead young people, that's obviously, what you're looking for, because she could have been just a regular boss and she didn't have to care. But obviously you got into that position, and we all have mentors, and we are where we are because other people. So it's super important. And the second thing you just mentioned is you started looking at the successful agents, the successful people.
Exactly.
And I think it was maybe Zig Ziglar coined the term that you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So that, that's just another point. Like,
well, that term was probably coined around the ancient Greeks.
Before that,
before
right, for sure.
Zig ever got a hold of it.
Yeah.
But that's but yeah, Zig is one that certainly said
one
that.
of them. But that's just another, like, if you have a bunch of no-sayers and a bunch of downers, people that don't support you in your dreams and stuff like that, get rid of them. Like, you don't need them in your life. And if you want to be successful, you really need to set your environment up for success, right?
Exactly.
So that's just a couple points I wanted to take out of that. But yeah. Continue.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because Kathy Honecker was the lady's name that was my first business mentor. My parents were, and I didn't know it at the time, but I wasn't the only one she mentored. I mean, I wasn't the only one in her market that she was leading. I mean, she was a sales manager. She had 35 other agents. Yeah. I mean, but there's I was one that had ambition. I had drive. I wanted to succeed. So hanging around those other types of people were pretty fun. And so after having her for a little bit and then going out on the dry spot, I had a regular kind of a guy, and he was a great guy. Don't get me wrong, and he helped me in certain areas, but not like the super ambitious person that I had before. So the associating with the right people, just watch other people what they were doing, and then fight and doing some of those things that happened. That was incredible for us, and wasn't long before we was doing what they were doing.
One other thing that is kind of fun, and I think probably a lot of people can relate to, is this is the Parkinson's law, right? Where, like, the more you make, the more you spend, the more you need to make. And it's a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and it doesn't matter if it's $5,000 a month or $50,000 a month, they still find the expenses and places to spend it on. So in your case, being married and having a kid and having this pressure to perform, force you to do it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it doesn't have to be a wife and a kid or family. It could be just expanding the business and doing something bigger that will almost put yourself outside of your comfort zone and see what happens, because most likely your universe will expand to that point. And it's, I think, isn't it fish thing, like a goldfish or whatever? The bigger bowl you give them, the bigger they get or something.
Exactly.
So there, I mean, it is one of the universal laws that really applies everywhere in your life. But so it's funny that you actually had to go through that as well to, put some fire under your butt and make
well, sure. And along that same time that, I only had Kathy for 2 years. And after that, I had a guy that was a good guy, but wasn't. I mean, his leadership skills weren't what hers were, obviously. But something else happened to me personally too. Is I went through a divorce right after that. So now I'm a 26-year-old single male who got married real early in life, and I'm single. I don't have my business mentor, and I started goofing around because I had a good job at Allstate. I had a really good job. So there was no success. There was no success in some of those middle years. But after 3 or 4 years of that nonsense and realizing I wasn't really getting anywhere, that I decided that I wanted to start doing something better. And that's around the time that I met my wife, my best friend, my soulmate still today. It was Vanessa, and she encouraged me to do better.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
Well, we got married in 1996.
Wow.
So we've been together. I'll let the people do the math on that. So so as we're shooting today, this is going on 20. This is our 22nd year of marriage.
So you know a little bit of about relationships and
absolutely
that type of stuff too, right? So,
and at the time when Vanessa and I first started going out and dating, we started. So 2 women. There's a lesson there too. 2 of the biggest influences on my life have been women. So but and of course then there's my mom. But one of the things that Vanessa and I love to do, and we still love to do, is that we love to travel. Well, if you're an Allstate agent, they got if you start winning awards and trips and become one of their better agents, you can do anything. We took 16 international trips with Allstate. So we've been around the world, all around this country. And it's incredible, and it's really, really cool. And what's so cool about it is you get to hang out with the very best agents.
Sure.
So I was always there trying to pick brain, learn what they were doing, and then, that was from the 90s to mid 2004. In 2004, I started. We became entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur. Allstate contract changed in the year 2000.
Okay.
So I'm now a small business owner, independent contractor.
Gotcha.
Well, I was hired as an employee agent. For 16 years, I was an employee agent. So in 2000, we become independent contractors. Well, I need to start acting like a
Business owner.
business owner.
Yeah.
Because now I'm paying my own rent, I'm hiring my own people. I also have the ability to go out and buy other Allstate insurance agencies.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But I needed to start acting like a business owner, and that's when I discovered, direct response marketing.
Yeah.
A man by the name of Dan Kennedy, who you and I both learned a lot from, who's had people. He has taught so many people. And another breakthrough happened. Another transformation in my business happened. So we went from like being top 5% of the company to top 1%, top half of 1% in the company for several years.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool, getting exposed to all of that. Because what I find interesting, Mira, is that you can only learn. As I got older, as I got into my 20th year in the business, is that you learn so much more outside.
Yeah.
Of your industry than with inside. 20 years I was hanging around the very best Allstate agents and independent agents. Now I started hanging around other successful business owners like yourself. I mean, we met in a mastermind setting in 2008, and because I wanted to start a company called BGI Systems to coach and help other agents. Now, of course, there was a life event that affected that too, because all I ever wanted to do for so long was be the very best insurance agent at Allstate. And man, we chased that. Well, when you chase that, we did very good at it. But because I was doing very good over there were some areas in my life that was suffering.
Sure.
One of them was my family.
Yeah.
And I'm not very proud of it, but it is what it is. It's made us who we are today. But as you know, in 2007, January 1st, 2007, worst day of my life. My son passed away, terrific accident. We were all on family vacation. He had a drowning accident, but we had to overcome. And then you get to find out. Well, being an insurance, who really cares? About that. What's really, really important? And so later on in the year, and so there were several things that happened that led me to. But one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing was helping other agents, because I had so many people help me. And so I started BGI Systems to start teaching our systems and processes to agency owners just like me, mostly Allstate at that time. Because see, along that way of success, we determined that there's there's systems and processes that need to be done in a business every day. And if you're doing them the same way, exactly the same way every day, it should work. So today we're shooting this. And it just happens to be really quick, the national championship, the college. I'm from Alabama, so we play college football very, very well there right now at this time. This is, we're shooting this. Alabama's just won their 5th national championship in the last 9 years. And actually, I'm more of an Auburn fan than I'm Alabama. But there's a coach there called Nick Saban, and my God, he would, no matter what business that Mr. Saban would be in, he would be extremely successful, because what Saban talks about all the time is process. Our process is this, and that's why he's won 5 out of 9, and he's been in the running for at least 2 or 3 others. Nothing's been like that. Now, if you're listening to this and you're not a college football, if you're not a football fan, if you don't understand it, well, apologies, but success is proven. I mean, history proves it. So we teach the systems and processes and the systems areas that we need, and most other businesses probably will follow this too: sales, marketing, daily operations, and hiring a team. Putting a winning team together, and those 4 things right there. And then, of course, after that, there's financial management and that sort of thing.
Well, let's repeat those 4 one more time, because that should be the pillars that everyone has, right? And you may be a one-person operation right now, and you're wearing all those hats. But as long as you're aware of those hats and you know that those are the positions, as you grow, you can fill those positions with other people, right? So what was it again? Sales, marketing, operations?
Yes, sales and marketing. Operations, daily operate, what you do every day, and then putting the team together.
The team together. So, so at this point, you have coached probably thousands of insurance owners. You have a business that really does things for them, done for you systems, which we just chatted about this before the show. These days, there's so much information and such an overload of information that you can really get paralysis by analysis. Like, you really need help implement a lot of those strategies.
Right.
And that's what you've done for those people so they can be more successful. So as you're helping all those people to succeed, of course, you are becoming even more successful as a result of it. So that's awesome. You've sold your insurance agencies, right? So you have,
So in 2008, when we started BGI Systems, I didn't know what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
I just wanted to help other agents get our systems and processes to them. See, our systems and process manuals are 427 pages.
Yeah.
You've seen them.
I've seen them.
And you have them. You have every updated copy there is. And so I didn't know what it was going to be like. But man, there was such demand for it because, and especially, and we started teaching Allstate agents at first because basically just plug and play. It's the same thing here in Tampa, Florida that pretty much is in Alabama or California or wherever. It's the same operating system.
Yeah.
So we started doing that, and then we started, people wanted more than just that. They wanted us to coach them through them because they just didn't want all the manuals. They needed help after that. And then we started doing done for you services in the sales area, the marketing area. And it's just
books
been
and newsletters
it's just
email systems and everything, right?
All of that, because one of the things that the business that we're really in, most people are in, like in my shoe, that's operating a business on Main Street in USA somewhere. Is the relationship business. See, we're small business owners for the most part. Most of us are really in the relationship business. The insurance product was just our deliverable.
That's right.
I could have been doing selling shoes. I could have been having a local grocery store. I could have had a nail salon, anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's how you. It's all those relationships of, and building on that. And of course, I know we're going to talk about referrals, and we'll get into that a little bit because that's the ultimate piece of business that there is. But it's just been a fun ride. So we started growing so much in 2000, and man, my passion was really big here because when we started the company, we also started a charitable fund for my son. And so we started raising scholarship money at first. A portion of every dollar that comes into BGI Systems goes into his fund.
That's awesome.
And so to date, nearly 10 years in, we've done nearly $750,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
And just in that fund. So 4 scholarships that are permanently endowed that will last forever. A lot of the giving gives back to our current members. So our members every year they get a grant from us. All they have to do is ask for it for their favorite charity. We teach the importance of being involved in the community in your area. It's funny, I learned all this in 2006. My son passed away in 2007. Now, all this stuff was lined up for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason, and it's painful.
But we were growing so fast, and I really enjoyed it so much that, as you know, in 2010, I had 3 locations. Had 3 Allstate locations, had like 15 employees. BGI was growing like crazy. We had 7 or 8 employees over there, and it's like, oh man, I got a lot of stuff going on. So I decided to sell my agencies and fully concentrate on this, and that's what we did. And it's been 2012 since we did that. It's hard to believe it's been this long.
Time is flying by.
But it's fun. It's been a lot of fun, man.
So let me just highlight a couple of things because man, all the stuff you're saying, like it's second nature to you.
We could do an all-day show, man.
We could for sure. So the last thing you just mentioned, I'm gonna go first with that. Giving.
Yes.
And I cannot stress enough how giving is important because whatever the reason for it is, but the more you give, the more you get.
Oh, absolutely.
And it happens every day, all day. Once you start giving, I dare you just try. I think Dan Kennedy had this 90-day experiment about opening a giving account and putting a little bit of money into that. And I did that, and it was just eye-opening.
Yeah.
It was crazy how you really get back 10 times more. I mean, it's nuts. So. Doing the charity, supporting your favorite cause, doing whatever it is you do, even if you feel like you can't give, because you can afford it, per se. Do it anyways. I mean, even if it's 1% of your income, whatever the basic thing you could do, just start somewhere. And I had a story about this. It was a few years ago when I did the 90-day experiment from one of Dan Kennedy's books. I think it was the Wealth Attraction for Entrepreneurs.
That's my second favorite book.
Yeah, and we'll put the link. This is actually really is an awesome book.
Of his.
I've read it a couple times.
He's written like 20-something.
Yeah.
So, but Wealth Attraction is the.
And I had, I just still remember like yesterday, I was getting this Smile Train envelope asking for donation. It's for kids with cleft palates, right? And they wanted, I don't know, $250 will fix one person. You can do half of it, quarter of it, the standard envelope with ask, a flyer inside of it. And I kept just throwing those away before that because I was like, I can't really afford it. Or, if I do this, I can, buy this for my kids. Or I was always playing this mind game about why I can't do it.
Sure.
Then when I had the account, I actually named it a giving account. I opened a checking account just for that. Started giving a percentage of every dollar that arrived, and it was just an experiment. Like I wasn't thinking about it too much. I was just doing what Dan said to do.
Right.
And one day there was probably like $300 in the account. I got this envelope. It said, I like the cost to begin with, and I see they want $250 for one child. Wrote a check for $250, put it in the envelope, send it back. Zero emotions attached to it. There was no battle. Can I afford it? Can I do whatever? If I do this, I'm taking away from something else. And even more so, I felt like if I don't give the money away, if I did something else with it, that something is going to happen, and I'm going to get struck by lightning or something. So, even if I could have zero money in my normal checking account and more money in the giving account, and I'll still write a check. So, I will post the link to Dan's book, and I really challenge you to give this a shot. Like, do whatever you can, just do it systematically, so you don't have to think about it. It's a process, and test it out, and share with us the stories. If you experience what I have experienced and what you're experiencing, there are gonna be stories. So it would be awesome to see some feedback from this. But so that's the giving part. Now, you have also mentioned things about your agency, and you grow your agency, and you have multiple locations. This whole thing is happening, and you had obviously you do all this on one side, then you have the family side, the personal life side. Taking care of yourself, taking care of your kids, spending time with that, whatever. And so sometimes growing. I mean, it's part of the business cycle. But at some point, look at it and look at your priorities. And if you need to make a decision like you did to sell the agencies and focus on the information business to actually teach what you were doing, in your case it may be something different. But always remember that you started your business because you wanted to support your personal life. You're not supposed to have your personal life feeding the business. And when I started initially, I was working for a help desk, and they only gave me 2 weeks off, and I wanted to go to Czech for 4 weeks or 6 weeks out of the year. And I'm like, 2 weeks vacation, that's crazy. I need to start my own business. And when I did that, I didn't take 1 day of vacation for 2 years. So completely backfired. I didn't know anything about running a business back then. I wish I knew that, what we are sharing with you guys now, because if you structure the business from the beginning and set your priorities from the beginning and make yourself and your family and everything else higher priority than the actual business, you don't have to run into a situation where you suffer health-wise. When I used to have back problems and just crazy things happening to my body. Family, barely see your kids. Like, we have all the same stories pretty much, sounds like. And it's mainly because we didn't know any better. Right. We thought, okay, it's all about the business. We need to grow it. There's more opportunities. And then you forget about what's behind. So, if you may be already dealing with something like this, like what we were describing here, take a look at it and just kind of assess the situation, shift your priorities, and the rest is history. I think this, if nothing else, this little piece, if somebody takes an action on this, I think it was worth us doing this show altogether.
We've all had we are who we are because of our past experiences and everything, and so I was I was completely crazy when all that stuff happened to me personally, and but
it must have been tough. I can even imagine.
Well, it was, and so I had no really way of coping with it because I was the business, but I coped with it with, and I'm not. It is who I am, but it was I had a drinking problem.
Sure.
And I turned toward that. It's a temporary solution,
but
not a good one. But one of the reasons I was able to get clear about what I really wanted to do was because in 2010 I got sober, and thank God I did. And so I was just, but I was I had no idea how self-centered, selfish I was. But You know, I was even after my son passed away, I was still so wrapped up in that, and I still didn't become a great family person right away. Yeah. And I don't know how good of a family. I'm a much better family person I was today than I was then, and I work on that because the priorities are God, family, and then work. Yeah. It was always work, and then whatever happened to get a little bit of other stuff. So, you know, I was able to make a sober decision. And what was right, and that was another. It's just, you know, there's another thing that Zig always says too. He mentions Zig Ziglar. You help enough people get what you want, you get all you want and more.
That's right.
And so, coming from an attitude of service and gratitude, it's just. It took me a long time to learn that lesson because I was a very driven person and wanting to succeed, and there were sacrifices that I had to. Put my family through, the people that supported me and loved me the most. Yeah. So, but it is what it is, but I don't have to do that anymore going forward. So.
And just also keep in mind that you would never be exactly where you are today if it wasn't for the experiences you had to go through in the past. Right. So, no matter how good or bad it feels, there's a reason for it, and you would not be the same person. Right now you're doing great, you look great. I mean, sounds like you've been through a lot, but I've seen you up and I've seen you down, and I'm really happy that you are where you are today. Yeah. And I know that you probably wish, and I wish for all of our viewers that hopefully you guys will learn something from what we're saying, so you don't have to go through all of it on your own. I mean, that's always our hope, that in the coaching business you're doing, if somebody uses your marketing strategies or somebody uses the stuff you have, you're doing it because you want to super speed their success path.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So that's why we do what we do as coaches, and that's what you're doing. Before I forget the last thing, I would like to move to the referral marketing and the referral business. But you mentioned basically about looking outside the box, and I don't want to just brush over that part, because two things. No matter what business you are right now, no matter what business you are in right now, the chances are there is somebody like Bill that has already mastered the industry and is teaching it and has systems and marketing procedures and everything you can pretty much just invest some money into and get it without having to reinvent the wheel. So I would challenge you to research your industry and see who are the leaders and people that teach it. And secondly, if there is nobody in the industry, or if you want to take it to the next level, look at what other industries are doing successfully, and then see how you could take that and transfer and translate it to your industry. Just like Dan Kennedy with his magnetic marketing. There's a whole bunch of people, including yourself, that do magnetic marketing for that industry, and that's a big core of what a lot of trainers and coaches do. So definitely look into that, because I remember back in the day when I had my wedding video business, there was a guy selling 3-step newsletter for $50 at a trade show. I thought it was too expensive. And then I went and spent $20,000 on high definition video equipment that just was equipment. And then when I met Dan Kennedy and realized what gold that guy was selling for $50, I had to chase them down and find them. I could never find them anymore. But I wish that day that I invested the 50 instead of the 20,000.
One of the things you're talking, when you're talking about that, I mean, one of the hot buttons today, of course, are, business owners. One of the things that you got to have is a couple, bright shiny objects or websites and social media. Yeah, sure, you must have those, but there's so many better ways to do it. Than just it's amazing what.
So let's talk about that, because this has been that's your. Really a big strength is referral marketing. And referral marketing to me means grassroots. You don't need technology, you don't need websites, you don't need any of that. You just need to have a good connection with your clients and give them experience that they feel like they will talk about with other people. And that's basically word of mouth marketing. So why don't we spend a few minutes chatting about that, and what can anyone that's watching this show that has a business, what can they do tomorrow or even today to start some sort of referral marketing culture in their business?
Well, first of all, you need to understand why it's so important. And I think most people probably already know this, but it's the most effective at the least cost. I mean, nothing gets better than a referral client because they're going to close easier, they're going to stay longer with you. You're going to be they're a better client, and they typically refer other people to your business. And so the people that what we concentrate on are our current customers, prospects, centers of influence. Centers of influence could have or that can influence people over to you. For example, in the insurance industry, a couple of big centers of influence for us are real estate agents and mortgage brokers because they're dealing with the sale of a home. So sale of a home means they need homeowners insurance. And then when you need homeowners insurance, then you need auto insurance, and then there's the other personal lines of insurance to go with it. So, so what kind of success, what kind of strategies do we have for building referrals? Well, you need sales strategies, you need marketing strategies for sure, and then of course operations gets in there as well. But you got to have the right people in the right seat, so it takes all four. Right people, right seat. Right people, right seat for operations. Right seat for sales. Right seat for service. And they need to have systems and process and how to get referrals from customers, prospects, centers of influence. For example, and this affects scripting. This affects everything that you do along that way.
When you say scripting, you're basically talking about having a system in place that's consistent, repeatable, and it really doesn't rely on the person having a good day or bad day, but it can just be delivered consistently all the time, right?
Absolutely. For example, let me give you one. Let me give you an introduction script. Let's say you're a new prospect contacting my agency for, you want to talk about auto insurance.
Okay.
And the very first thing that you hear when you talk to me is let's say I'm the sales producer in there, what we like to call sales superstars. That's a more sexy name than just sales producer. So by the time, and by the way, the sales superstar does not answer the phone. It's answered by someone else that figures out where that call needs to go. So if it comes to me, I already know that Mira's on the phone and Mira wants to talk to me about auto insurance. So I'm going to answer the phone something like, "Hello, Mira. My name is Bill, and I understand you're calling today to talk to me about auto insurance." "Great, Mira. I'm glad you're calling because this is what I do every day. This is my specialty here in the agency. You see, Mira, 3 out of 4 people that call me every day to talk to me about insurance are referred to me by a family member or friend. And one of the reasons is because of our incredible referral program. Mira, who was it that referred you to our office today?" And no matter what you say, I start talking about a referral program. So what most people say, if you're listening, is if you've called and talked to someone about auto insurance, or you've shopped around for it, the person on the other end, all they're saying is basically, "What's your name? What's your address? Where do you live? How many cars you got? How many losses you had?" In other words, they get into the robot fact finding. No, it's about relationship build. So how do you do that? And that's that's interrupting that pattern of the typical robot answering the phone, the sales robot answers the phone, and you start building relationship at the very first.
Yeah. So it's intentional right from the beginning.
Absolutely. And you notice how it kind of rolled off my tongue. You know why?
Well,
because I've been saying it for thousands and thousands of
that's
times.
right.
And not only that, of course, you practice it. You rehearse your day. For example, you start your day off. Most people in their businesses start their day off just by showing up at the business and then just taking on what happens. Unfortunately, most people start their day off in a very bad way. When they wake up, they grab their phone and they look at their email. Well, you're under the control of the world. You've lost control of your day from the get-go. You're letting the world dictate to you what to do, not what you're going to dictate to the world. You got to be proactive in your business rather than reacting to everything else. And that's what causes this reaction is what causes business owners, team members of business owners, all this frustration and overwhelmed to where I can't get anything more done. I can't learn these scripts. I got all I can do. Well, because you're letting the world control you. You got to control your world. Now, hey, have I ever been under overwhelming busyness? We all have. We all have, but you don't have to be any more like that today when you learn how to be proactive in your business. And any business owner can start working off referrals. And if you're listening to this, you already know this, and you're probably already doing some of these things. But what would happen if you had a guaranteed way? Imagine what your life would look like if you had a guaranteed way to improve your sales process to where your closing percentage just improved. Instead of having, let's say you have a 20% close rate, 1 out of 5 people you talk to, you close, and that may be very low for your industry, but in our industry it's decent. But what if you had a system to where you could improve that to take it to 30%, take it to 40%, and then figure out a way to get a better customer in the marketing aspect of it, then it just explodes. And that's when it gets fun.
Yeah.
That's when it gets really, really fun, and learning how to find these people and all that. I'm kind of getting down a rabbit trail here.
That's okay.
I want to wheel it back into referrals, but
it's all connected for sure.
It absolutely is.
And I think one of those things that we probably didn't mention is you have to obviously start with great experience, whether it's your product, service, whatever you have. You better be doing a good job and giving people awesome experience for them to want to refer you, right?
Well, as one of our mentors, often said, anything you're offering, if you can't figure out a way to guarantee it, satisfaction guarantee, or you pay nothing, then you have no business. Then you're in the wrong business. Even me. In the insurance business, okay, my industry is heavily regulated by insurance state department. Every state in the United States has a state department of insurance, heavily regulated. I can guarantee stuff. I can guarantee I'll call them back within 24 hours or they'll get a free gift card. Right. I can guarantee that you're going to be satisfied with this product that if it doesn't do what we said it'll do, then I'll give I'll give your money back, the unearned premium back to you. Now that's kind of like that's a little play on words there. You've heard me talk about that many times. But there's way to do that. I can guarantee you that I'm not going to share your personal information with other people. That's the Privacy Act. It's illegal to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of these requirements that are in the insurance industry, and I'm just putting in writing in the form of a guarantee. It's brilliant.
And
I didn't figure that out.
It's impossible and saying, "Oh, I'm regulated, I can't do anything." You find a way to play with it. So think outside the box.
That's outside the box stuff. Exactly what you're talking. And I didn't discover this at all. Oh, well, I did discover it from another agent. When I saw it, I said, "Oh my gosh, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna swipe that and deploy it ethically." Model
what other people do, right?
Yes.
So that's awesome. So really, anyone, whether they're insurance agent or not, can look at what their current, if they haven't done referrals, or maybe if they're not consciously doing it.
Right.
Like in my case, all of my business for the last 12 years came from referrals or word of mouth marketing. So I've been experiencing a lot. I've been studying marketing, but yet all my marketing is pretty much people coming to me because they see me, they want the same thing. So if someone doesn't have conscious way of getting referrals yet, what would be the first step? Like getting a list of current customers, or like where would they start?
So I'm so glad you asked, because I was in 04, I was struggling with referrals. I knew only 3% of my new business was coming from referrals. And that was not, I was very, very unhappy. We were doing very, very well. Most of our business was coming somewhere else, but I was not doing anything on purpose. And so what we developed was, and again, it was seeing what someone else was doing. A very successful insurance agency owner out in California had this referral reward system. So, again, we're regulated. I mean, we can only give a few bucks for a referral, and they can't be transactional. So if you talk to me if you have a conversation with me, we used to say quote, but now we say conversation. You have a conversation with me about your insurance program. There's a gift card for that. In every state, there's a limit, anywhere from a low of $5 all the way up to $25. But so that enter those people every month into a contest. So you pull out a contest winner every month, and at the end of the year they have a raffle contest for a grand prize, and we give away flat screens and all kind of good stuff. And we've been doing this since 2004. Return on investment is crazy. Mira, I do a 1-hour conversation on this. I have a free resource for the listeners.
Perfect.
On this. Okay. So because I do a 1-hour talk on it. And they can go to my website, and that website is bgisystems.com, and you can get that downloaded, or you can get it hard copy, DVD or CD or both, and we'll be happy to send it out to you. Now, if you're in the insurance industry, I talk about or whatever industry you're in, it doesn't really matter. You see, the reason in that talk, I not only talk about 10 strategies on how you can get more of them, but I also talk about 3 or 4 or 5 reasons why you're not getting them right now and you don't even really know it.
That's cool.
And this is a mindset thing. So basically, It's really cool. So anybody
cool.
can go get that
So
resource.
yeah, definitely go there and just please hear what he's just said. Even if you're not an insurance agent,
Oh yeah.
go and grab that resource anyway. And thank you for sharing that, because I know
sure.
most likely you're not gonna get much of a business from non-insurance agent getting that resource. But thanks for sharing that and
Oh
giving
yeah.
it away.
Well, what it does is
really
when
awesome.
you start. Like this conversation we're having, this is stimulating ideas for us. And if somebody's really listening to this conversation, then what they're doing is they're actually working on their business, and they're thinking something's allowed to say, and something's allowed to pop.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll go back and listen to it over and over again, because that's the way you and I have learned.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
we
sure.
have, we were talking about our libraries a while ago. They're
Yeah.
so full of books, recordings, and now we got a pretty good digital library as well.
Yeah,
too.
I know. Oh, it's crazy.
I didn't even know what a digital library was until, but now
Well,
I've
now
got
you
quite a
have
bit
one.
of that too.
So, well, thanks so much for the resources and for sharing all this knowledge.
Sure.
And let me do a quick little rapid fire so we can, another one of those things where, we're going to do about 30 minutes and then an hour later we're still
I know.
talking. We could do this whole day for sure. So, I just want to just do quick rapid fire. Share with us maybe, 1, 2, 3 books that everybody should have on their bookshelves that they should read at least once, maybe more than once in their lifetime.
Yeah, of course. There's the classic Think and Grow Rich. Most people listening is probably gonna have that. E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's one that really changed my life. That's when I realized about systems. I got a hold of that book in the 90s, and that's when I started writing everything down. See, you know what you do in your business every day, but do you have it documented?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then it's documented up here.
business.
It's bad. And if you're not, and if you don't have a system to give to your team member or your employee or staff person, then guess whose system they're using? They're using their own, and most likely theirs is not tied in congruency with you.
Couldn't be more right than that. So definitely, I don't think we've mentioned
Those are
E-Myth on this show yet.
Yeah.
So we'll put a link to that one as well. And
Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of
Awesome.
of highly successful people.
Yeah.
One of my favorites with him is getting into whenever you get into another business or a project or whatever, always begin something with the end in mind. That's my favorite habit. Never begin without thinking about the end. So
really
whether you're starting a business, doing a new project, or whatever. So
Or business partnerships, right?
business
How many times
partnership,
those
whatever,
things fall
joint
apart?
JV.
Oh, God,
I
yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
there's
That's awesome.
But you need to have so Covey's book. Those are classics. And then of course we talked about Dan Kennedy's No BS series. My two favorite is the time management one. It changed my
And you're
life
gonna
in
say that?
2004.
Yeah.
I have to.
It's an awesome book.
I mean,
awesome book.
he even asked me to write the foreword in number two.
Number 2, yeah.
And number 3 just came out, and I'm on page 13 and 14
Nice.
of that because it changed my life. The first chapter of that book changed my life. I was looking for, I just, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
And so that showed you there's a simple exercise that he teaches you. You already know this, of course, but he teaches you the value of your time when you're doing productive work. And so I needed to hear that.
And I don't think it takes a long time to explain it. So I was going to ask you about your time management strategy. Why don't you share your favorite time management strategy and tell them in detail? Because this is a quick little exercise to figure out what your time is worth.
Yeah, so what you do is it all goes back to a study. It kind of goes back to a study. CEOs were asked how much of your day is productive every day, and less than a third of it is. I mean, that means 2/3 of your day is totally wasted.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it filters all the way down to everybody in the business. So, in other words, I'm wasting time on answering email every time the thing pops or whatever. I'm making unnecessary phone calls here and there. I get an idea, I walk into a staff member's office and interrupt what they're doing and talk to them about, something that popped into my brain. Instead of maybe making a list of the 3 people that I talk to in my office on a regular basis, and instead of when I get that idea, hey, just jot it down. Just jot it down over here, and then when I get 3 ideas, go talk to you or whoever it is about, hey, these 3 things, or we're going to meet later on. So a couple of things that we've been doing in the last, if you have employees, these are really, really, really important. And I've never been a fan of annual reviews for team members, but I am a big fan. A big fan of one-on-one meetings every week.
Oh, that's cool.
And they get scheduled in my they're scheduled in my calendar on Wednesday from 1 till 3 for the 3 main people that I need to meet with every week forever. They're in there, and the reason they're in the calendar is so nothing gets scheduled around them. Because if they don't get what gets scheduled gets done.
That's
and
right.
so the calendar, the thing, and I keep it in the palm of my hand. I know what's going on. Like for example, this thing here went into when we talked about this, it went into the it had to go into the calendar because if it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. So for me, I use that. That's really really good. But those one-on-one meetings. Tip about those we just don't meet to meet. These are accountability meetings, and so we talk about and they last about 20 minutes in length. First 5 minutes is personal. These people are my people that work with me. They're my work family. I spend as much time with them, if not more, than I do my own family at home typically a lot of times, okay? So the first 5 minutes, we're going to talk about something personal. You talk about anything you want to personal. Can't be about business. Next 5 minutes, I go personal. And then the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about business. And that business is what we're working on what we were working on last week, where we are on that, and what we're going to work on next week. And these things are all tied to the goals and the plans of reaching those goals. Everything is goal oriented. Everything is set. Everything's written down. And man, what you get from the results you get from that are incredible. Now, when I first heard this, I thought, yeah, it sounds like a pretty cool idea. I wasn't ready for it. I had to hear this 2, 3, 4 times. I was watching my top coaching members that I coached. This was their idea. This was this was one of my members' idea, and he kept talking about it. I said, I got to do that because we're just having meetings now just when they happen. But so we started doing this a few years ago. It's amazing.
I love that idea. For anyone that has several team members, this is awesome. So
amazing. And then they're doing, and then the people that they supervise, they're meeting with them and doing the same thing. So one of the ideas I got from this was that a lady worked for this gentleman for 20-something years and just totally dedicated to the business, which may not be so common today. But worked for him for so long, and then one day she walked in and said she quit, and she said, "Why are you quitting?" He said, "You don't even know my children's names." And so that I mean, we could use all kind of stories, but people are people. We're in the relationship. Most businesses are in the relationship business, and then relationship marketing. Before there can be sales, there's got to be marketing, and you and I love marketing. For sure. So, and I'm sure anybody tuning into this is a marketing lover too, or if not,
they should be, because you really, we always say that you're not in the business of doing whatever you're doing. You're in the business of marketing that thing, right? So everybody should be marketing.
I'm not.
Marketer
I mean,
first. So that's good.
When I walk into an insurance group and talk to them the first time, I can ask the question, "What business is it that you think you're? What business are you guys in?" We're in the insurance. No, you're not. Insurance, you're delivery. You're really in the relationship business, relationship marketing business. So
for sure.
Anyway, it takes me a little bit to explain it to them, but.
So much for rapid fire questions.
I know, man.
We can go all day. Really.
Man.
So next thing, we already mentioned Dan Kennedy. Any other mentors that influenced you? You already mentioned your wife. You mentioned your
of course,
mom.
My mom and dad were, were very, very instrumental. And then, of course, Kathy Honecker, my wife. I look at other very successful people, and they are, a lot of my mentors are my peers. The people that are in the same peers. I belong to a mastermind group now that are people out there just like me that are coaching other industries, whether they be dentists, real estate agents, chiropractors. There's more than one dentist in the space. IT people. We meet once a quarter. And it's amazing. Last month we brought Mr. Wonderful in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, from Shark Tank.
I love it.
Spent a day. 10 of us spent a day with him, and to watch him work is amazing. He's not near as grumpy as he is on TV. But you know what? The two big things he was saying are two things that we've talked about. He hates having his time wasted. He despises it, just like Mr. Kennedy does, of course. And of course, I know you and I share that same thing. He hates having his time wasted. And then number two is that associating with the right people, which we talked about too as well at the first of this talk. But just watching other people, and then there's a lot of mentors I got out there that I've never met that have already passed away, like Zig and Jim Rohn. And reading those people. Darren Hardy of Success Magazine is fabulous, man. I've had a chance to work, be around him, hear him speak, and that sort of thing. There's a lot of them out there, man.
And I know one thing about you is that you really are the person that learns something from everybody.
Yeah.
Like you actually listen. Like there are a lot of people that just listen with intention to speak. But I know even in the beginning when you and I met, like you listen, you want to know what I know. You
Yeah.
want to get the information and listen for an input and advice and take it. And I think it's really important to note that because every person in your life, it doesn't have to be multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever
no.
person. There's a chance that everybody you meet, they know something that you don't. And then you can learn a little thing, and if you do it right, you can apply it to your business, to your life, to whatever.
Absolutely.
But it's really
Because remember, business and work is number 3, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple other things that are more important.
That's right.
More important to that.
But I've known that about you for a long time, so I just wanted to highlight it because it's important. A lot of people, miss that skill.
You mentioned the word listen. There's that old saying, that's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
That's right. I like that. So. Couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. So what is your big why? Why do you get out of bed and do what you do every day?
Great question. I'm glad you didn't, prep me for that one. But, my big why changed for me back when my son passed. Realizing what some things that I needed to improve. But then I started doing the other thing that didn't really improve that. But, I want to stay connected with my Creator, man. Yeah. I start and end my day every day with Him because I don't have the power. What I've learned is I don't have any power, but I can plug into power. And when I get His power, ain't nothing can stop you. Yeah. So now, would I have said that 5 or 6 years ago? And not only that, but the people I was hanging around 10 years ago, they said, because I thought, I acted like I was it. And, I'm not very happy with that behavior, but I'm going to use that to take my future forward. So that's it. And so right there is, it starts there, and next is family. Yeah. And getting those priorities, but I have to work on that every day. Sure. See, and there's another book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Oh my gosh, that's improving a little bit every day. Yeah. Joe Theismann, who came and spoke at our event several years ago, I don't think I've heard him speak a half a dozen times, and every time he talks, one thing that jumps out at me is he wants to, when his head's hit the pillow that night, he wants to be a little bit better than he was when he woke up that morning, learn something or whatever. Yeah. And maybe if we've said something here today, maybe that happened here today. Yeah. I know I've learned something, here today. So walking into this, this is the first time I've walked into this place. It's incredible.
Thank you.
So it won't be my last time here.
Yeah, I hope not.
I can tell you that. But just driving that and everything else pretty much takes care of itself. Trying to keep my priorities straight with my God, family, and then whatever way I'm earning a living, which today is helping other people.
That's awesome. And the last question I have for you, and just like everybody else before you. Success is very personal to each person. Everybody has their personal definition of success. So what is your personal definition of success?
Well, it kind of ties in what we were just talking about, improving every day spiritually and with family, and then serving our coaching members and trying to just add value to their life. I'm here this week because of, we met with our top coaching member, our mastermind group. We call them the top producers club. And I've spent 3 days with some of those people. Man, I'm on a natural high because and this is the beginning of the year, so I'm hearing about their end of the year, best years ever. We in those groups, as you know, we laugh, we have fun, we cry, and we help each other because it gets very personal in those confidential runs. But just more of the same, man. More of the same. Hanging out with people like you. Watch what you've done. That's awesome. And, with your beautiful children and your family, it's fun to watch, buddy.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here.
You bet.
Thank you for taking time on Sunday, really. It's a lot of dedication and commitment, and I really appreciate you being here. And for those of you watching, once again, I say this every single week, if you do something with what we just shared with you, you will benefit, and this was all worth it. If you don't implement anything that we just said, and we just had a good time, and I don't regret anything, but it's not gonna help you and move you forward if you don't implement. The difference between success and failure is implementation. So go do something, wake up, and be successful.